to see you back here on Battle Cry with me, Shiv Arur, the only show that gets you up close with India's weapons, India's warriors, and how India fights. It's an extremely exciting episode we have for you because never before has India suddenly tested so many different missiles in such a short span of time. It's been a flurry of successful missile tests. We're going to tell you about each one of them and why they're so important. The big focus here on Battle Cry. It's India's missile ka mausam. Never before flurry of missile tests. From the nuclear-capable Shaurya to the radar hunter-killer Rudram. India's missile program is on fire. The Big Bang focus on Battle Cry. When India's 2020 missile season blasted off, proverbially, in early September, when a system that had never been tested before, and this of course is just a representative image, that's not what it really looks like, blasted off from the East Coast. It's called the Hypersonic Demonstrator Vehicle, and it tests some very new technologies, and it was soon followed up with one of India's most important missile systems, the nuclear-capable Shaurya. This is what kicked it off. 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
India's missile season began with this test. On the face of it, it looks like just any other missile test, right? Well, what you don't see is what's inside this missile carrier. And that's where the real juice is. It's this object, which looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. This is the Hypersonic Technology Demonstrator Vehicle. Blasted to an altitude of 30 km by the rocket-powered missile. This object then separated from the missile at a very high velocity. Hypersonic combustion was then triggered and sustained the vehicle on a designated flight path at a velocity of 6 times the speed of sound, nearly 2 kilometers per second for more than 20 seconds. The scramjet engine performed in a textbook manner, to the delight of scientists who were tracking it from the ground. India is a new entrant to the small hypersonic club, which so far has Russia, China and the US as members. But why hypersonic weapons, you may wonder. The capability of modern anti-missile systems to shoot down even high-speed missiles has meant that evading such defenses needs even more speed. That's why hypersonic velocities that blaze through defended airspace without risk of being shot down. The hypersonic technology being tested here will find use in future Indian weapons, including a hypersonic version of the currently hypersonic BrahMos.
DRDO has been developing many missile systems, and DRDO has capability to develop varieties of missile systems. I can confidently say that the country has all the capabilities and completely self-reliant in the area of missile systems. So whatever the missile system which armed forces look for, DRDO has the capability.
Unlike the hypersonic test, which was announced with some justifiable fanfare by the government, there was another test that was conducted in absolute silence. No publicity whatsoever. Even these images you see aren't of the actual test, but an earlier launch. This is the Shaurya missile, tested in early October. It is one of India's most formidable upcoming weapons. Sporting a range of just under 2,000 kilometers, This surface-to-surface missile is a hybrid missile that uses ballistic launch, a cruise missile like mid-phase and a precision-guided end phase that makes it hugely flexible for Indian strategic planners. The Shaurya is the land-launched version of the operational K-15 missile, already activated on India's INS Arihant nuclear submarine. The Shaurya will undergo a few more tests before being inducted into the eager Strategic Forces Command by the end of next year. Two high-speed, high-capability weapons. One for the future, one about to be ready for service. The headlining acts of a furious season of missiles. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force can engage with enemy submarines at a distance of 50 kilometers, maybe even 100 kilometers, but not very much more than that. Can we ever think of hitting an enemy submarine at a distance of 650 to 700 kilometers away? Is that even conceivable? Well, India did conduct a test recently that makes that a possibility in the near future. Take a look at SMART.
An enemy submarine in the Bay of Bengal, prowling, looking to create silent trouble for Indian forces, to blockade Indian vessels, hinder movement, and maybe even sink Indian warships. But what the submarine doesn't know is that a network of Indian sensors has already picked it up. And from a very safe distance of over 600 kilometers, its destruction has begun. This missile blasts into the air either from an Indian ship or even from a shore-based launcher like this one. The missile roars over the ocean out to where the submarine lurks at depths. Once near the site of the threat, the missile pops open, releasing a torpedo, which parachutes into the water. Once in the water, the torpedo begins a search pattern, locks onto the submarine, homes in and destroys it. The system that brought the torpedo this huge distance, way beyond a normal torpedo's range, is called SMART, short for Supersonic Missile Assisted Release of Lightweight Anti-Submarine Torpedo System. Detecting a submarine is of course easier said than done, and is one of the most difficult and complex elements of naval warfare. And what this new Indian weapon under test has done is give India the beginnings of such a capability.
You need to increase the ranges of the torpedoes. Many mechanisms are available. This is one of the mechanisms wherein supersonic missile assisted release of torpedo, that's the SMART, has been attempted. So this will definitely help Indian Navy in engaging far off distance objects. That's the primary motive of this particular test.
The system has had a textbook success and will soon see many more launches until it is ready for service. Bureau Report, India Today.
As part of this flurry of missile tests, there was one that the Indian Army has wanted for a very long time. The Indian Army has tested Israeli systems from its Arjun tanks, but now it finally has the possibility of seeing a fully Indian laser-guided anti-tank missile that is fired from a tank gun. That's right, it's been proven possible. Take a look.
Blasting out from a tank's gun barrel. Except that isn't a tank shell, but the first test firing of India's laser-guided anti-tank guided missile.
3, 2, 1, now!
Seen here being fired from the main gun of an Arjun battle tank in the Ahmednagar firing ranges. The missile is an advanced derivative of the NAG anti-tank missile that has been in development for years. The Indian Army had originally considered the Israeli Lahat tank-fired missile. But performance of the weapon fell short of expectations, prompting the Defence Ministry to sanction a fully Indian program. And that's why this first test of the SAMHO laser-guided anti-tank guided missile is so significant. The last time India had a tank war was 1971. But that does not mean tanks are no longer part of frontline forces. In fact, apart from being deployed in large numbers in the desert sectors of Rajasthan and plains of Punjab, tanks are also deployed in large numbers in Ladakh amidst the current standoff with China. Anti-tank weaponry is therefore still very much part of modern battlefield. Bureau Report, India Today.
As part of the Chinese mobilization in Ladakh, one of the elements that has been moved in some of the largest numbers have been radar facilities, communications centers to aid the huge Chinese presence in that area. And that's where one of India's missiles tested in the last few weeks gains huge importance. It's called the Rudram. It's an anti-radiation missile delivered from an aircraft. Here's what it can do to enemy radars.
It's been fired before, but this was the first time it was publicized. This is the Rudram, India's brand new anti-radiation missile. Seen here launched from a Sukhoi MKI fighter high up over the Bay of Bengal. But what does an anti-radiation missile do? An anti-radiation missile is a weapon designed to detect and home in on an enemy radio emission source, mainly radars that make up the heart of enemy air defenses. Take, for instance, Chinese radars and communication centers in the depth areas across the line of actual control from eastern Ladakh, up to 200 kilometers inside. Indian jets sporting such a missile would be capable of destroying those radar sites with such a weapon. The radar waves would literally draw the missile into the target. The missile's seeker can detect, classify and engage targets over a wide band of frequencies. The missile is a potent weapon for Indian Air Force pilots in the difficult suppression of enemy air defenses from large standoff ranges. With this, the country has established indigenous capability to develop long-range air-launched anti-radiation missiles for neutralizing enemy radars, communication sites, and other radio frequency emitting targets.
We need to do some more tests on that, and then once that is done, it will be inducted into the Indian Air Force, maybe in the next about 1 year or so.
The Rudram will see more tests before it is operationally cleared for services. Bureau Report, India Today.
While all of these missiles that you've just seen are all new systems that will be inducted in the future, there's one proven system, the BrahMos, which is already in service but has just got a huge beef up in its latest test. It's the extended range, making a proven missile even more vicious.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. 1.
The unmistakable roar of the BrahMos. Screaming into the air, this supersonic cruise missile is the fastest weapon in India and one of the fastest in the world. But this unpublicized test from September 30th, a video of which you're seeing for the first time here on India Today, wasn't just another test of the BrahMos missile. You cannot tell from these dramatic pictures, but the weapon being tested here is a beefed up BrahMos. While the BrahMos has for long been restricted to a 290-kilometer range, this test last week saw the BrahMos being tested at ranges well in excess of 400 kilometers. Also invisible to the eye are a slew of improvements that make this weapon significantly more stealthy. With this range extension, several more targets come within range of the BrahMos missile, including several air bases, military establishments and Chinese army depots in Tibet. The speed and stealth of the BrahMos also ensures very little reaction time to its targets. The BrahMos, in simple terms, is now a threat to many more Chinese targets than earlier. BrahMos missile regiments are already deployed in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh at this time. With the range extension updates to the missile, they get longer legs. Theoretically, every BrahMos in service can now sport an extended range, including the BrahMos on Indian Navy warships. The air-launched BrahMos from the Indian Air Force's Sukhoi 30 MKF fighters, and most immediately, the Army's large number of BrahMos regiments. The hugely significant extended range BrahMos has been tested up to 400 kilometers, but will ultimately be pushed to over 800 kilometers, making it the most fearsome strike weapon in the Indian arsenal. You can be sure that China has taken note. With Shaurya in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
As we always say here on Battle Cry, India's true strength will only be realized when no weapon is fired and no human needs to be sent into war. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week on Battle Cry.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.